Hello everyone, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today I'm on the road, so I'm going to be doing it via iPhone. Today that we're going to talk about Damien Maia versus Ben Askren. The fight just happened a few hours ago. I'm sure a lot of you have watched it. UFC Singapore, an incredible event. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to load up into the chat room, and I'm going to give a quick thank you. As you guys do that, I'm going to give a quick thank you to our sponsors, TimTam.tech, Gym Kings Clothing, Monster Energy Drink. Thank you very much for sponsoring this channel and making these episodes possible. Okay, guys, with that said, let me give you guys my initial thoughts on Damien Maia versus Ben Askren. Incredible fight. 5 rounder, a fight scheduled for 5 rounds. For those of you who didn't watch it, I'm about to spoil it for you, so turn off this channel if you haven't watched it, you want to see it later. Ben Askren gets submitted by Damien Maia via rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Incredible fight. Round 1 was super tight. Lots of exchanging. Failed takedowns by Ben Askren. Lots of exchanges standing up. In my opinion, Damien Maia had the advantage striking. He landed a few strikes that I felt stunned Ben in round number 1. He actually caught Ben really well. He hurt him once, then stunned him a second time with a left hand. He outboxed Ben, but then Ben gets a really nice takedown near the end of round 1. There's a scramble. Ben gets on top and lands a couple of nice shots himself. Very, very tight round. But I was giving it to Damien Maia. I felt what Damien Maia did standing on the feet was more than what Ben Askren did on the ground. So round 1 was really close, very hard to call. But in my book, I gave it to Maia. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about round 1. So I'm just going to finish my descriptions of round 2 and 3, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys. Round 2 was another very tight round. Ben Askren finding a home for the uppercut. I gave round 2 to Ben Askren because I felt that his striking was actually beating Damien Maia. It was a tight round, close. Ben also gets another takedown in round 2, and they scrambled a bit on the ground. Not much happened on the ground. However, I did give that round to Ben Askren. Round 3 comes along. I feel that Damien Maia is dominating the stand-up again. I feel that Damien Maia is coming back, dominating the stand-up. So I was giving round 3. I felt that Damien was running away with it. Ben Askren started to look like he was getting tired. He gets Damien Maia down again, and lo and behold, real quickly, Damien Maia gets a sweep, gets on top, passes the guard, moving into mount, and Askren gives his back and gets choked. And Damien Maia did almost a one-arm choke. Like, he almost choked him with one arm. He had a little bit of assistance with his second arm, but he had a nice squeeze on Ben Askren's neck. Ben Askren seemed to go out. He tapped, and then, like, it took that extra. He tapped at the very last second. I felt as soon as he tapped, he actually passed out as he was tapping. Like, he just had enough strength just to finish the tap. It seemed like he went out. Maia looked fresh. It looked like Maia can go 5 rounds, but it looked like Ben in the middle of round 3, after that last takedown that he scored, it looked like he had no more pep, no more energy, no more power. It looked like he faded really badly, which is very mysterious because normally you would think of Ben Askren as having a really great gas tank. In his career, he's always shown to have a very good ability to wrestle nonstop, and it seemed like he got tired. Absolutely did. Okay, guys, that's my assessment. I thought Damien won round 1 and was on his way to win round 3, even though it was very tight. All rounds were tight. I can definitely see many people disagreeing. There was no clear rounds. None of the rounds, in my opinion, were completely clear, of course, except for the submission at the end. The final sequences at the end when Maia swept Askren, it was all Damien Maia. It didn't seem like Askren had any energy left. With that said, guys, I would like you guys to tell me, who do you think won round 1? Put an M for Maia and the letter A, for Askren. Let me know what you guys think. Who won round number 1? Maia, 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 Askren, Maia, Maia, Askren, Askren, Maia, Maia. Most of you guys so far, I would say, is a Maia, Maia. He also has been all right, let's see here. Maia, Maia. So I guess you guys see it. Most of you see it like me. Maia round 1. I heard an interview. I heard Ben Askren's post-fight interview where he thought he won the first 2 rounds. Look, it's not crazy. It's not crazy. Again, I didn't watch the fight live. Watching it live sometimes it's a little bit different. You feel the shots landed because the thing is, you can't, in my opinion, you can't count the significant strikes. You can't say one guy landed 15 significant strikes, the other guy landed 11, and therefore the guy who landed 15 is winning. Not necessarily. One of those strikes from the guy who landed 11 significant strikes could have like been the total of what the other guy's 15 significant strikes. Okay, so we can't say that every significant strike is the same amount of damage. Okay, we can't compute that. We have to kind of judge by the eye. There's no objective way to declare who did more damage. However, I think most of you agree that Maia won round number 1. So now I want to ask you guys, who won round number 2? Round number 2. Who won round number 2? M for Maia, A for Askren. Askren, Maia, Askren, Askren. I agree. Ben Askren won round number 2. Maia, it was close. I could see people arguing that Maia won, but I still felt that those uppercuts that Askren landed and the fact that he finished on top at the end, I have to rewatch round number 2 here. I got on my laptop again here. I think I'm gonna just rewind it real quick. Let me find round number 2 real quick here. The last sequence. No, this is round 3. Yeah, round number 2, Maia kind of gets on top, but then Ben Askren kind of scrambles and back to the top position. He tried to field Kimura. That's right. Okay, I'm remembering the sequence now. Maia almost stole round 2. He almost did, but then Ben Askren ended up on top in round 2. I think that was a big mistake on Damien's part. I mean, it happens. It's sweaty. He's tired. I get it, but he had a good control position. He had swept Ben Askren with a triangle a triangle omoplata attack. He got on top of Askren. It looked like he was gonna take the round. He got hit by Askren a couple of times with those uppercuts. I thought those were the most significant strikes standing. Then Askren takes him down. Maia sweeps him. It looks like Maia has a time to control. Because you'd think that Maia's top game is far superior to Ben Askren's bottom game. But lo and behold, Askren found a way to scramble as he was giving up the back. See, in round 2, Ben Askren gave up the back. But he scrambled out and got out on top. In round 3, he tried to kind of give up the back and do it again. But this time, Maia was super tight. He wasn't going to let him slip out again. He was more in a control position. In round 2, when he was attempting taking Askren's back, he was riding high. His hips were too high up on the shoulders. He fell off. Very common, especially when there's no shirt. It's very sweaty. You know, jiu-jitsu is it's very different when you have no shirt because the amount of sweat, the amount of sweat that's there is a lot more. There's no shirt to absorb the sweat. The shirt also creates a grip. He slipped off. That's basically what happened. However, in round 3, he was far more balanced. He was in great position to take the neck, and he did. Okay, guys, I think a majority of you will agree that Ben Askren won round number 2. Love the round number 3, the sequence at the end. I think we're all gonna agree. Obviously, there's nothing to debate about round number 3. So, guys, now I'm gonna take your comments and questions on this fight. Let me know what you guys thought about this fight. Comments and questions, please. I think we have super chats. I'm not even sure how this works here. How do I do a super chat? Guys, no need to do super chats this one. I don't know how to open them. I'm seeing like some kind of symbol here. I'm clicking it. It's not working. Please forgive me, guys. I don't know. I don't do it often on my phone. I usually do it on my laptop, but now I'm on the road, so I have to do it on my phone for today. Let's see what you guys have to say. Faraz, can you drink water and say Maia, Maia? Okay. Do you think Askren is overrated? That's how to get good. No, I don't think Askren is overrated. I think he's in the top 15. It was a very competitive fight. I believe Askren is ranked number 11 and Maia number 10. Hold on, let me just take a look here. It's on the screen. Maia's number 10. Askren is number 11. Look how competitive the fight was. He won a round against Maia, and the first round was very tight. So, of course, he's actually ranked very accurately. It was a competitive fight. Just because he lost round 3 doesn't mean he's not fighting at that level. The first 2 rounds showed that he's very much at that level. However, is he a top 5? No, he's not. Is he a type of guy who's going to win the world title in UFC? At this moment in time, I would say unlikely, unless he goes back to the drawing board and comes back with something new. This formula is not going to go through the welterweight division. The formula that he has right now, the current formula, in my opinion, is not going to get him to a world title. Okay, I think it's kind of obvious. Okay, it's Damien Maia right now, he's not at his prime, possibly. He's close to retirement, and I would say that at best, Askren, with his skill set, his current skill set, is going to fluctuate around the top 15, on the outside of the top 10. He needs to go back to the drawing board and make some improvements. Is he overrated? No, I think he's accurately rated. Accurately rated. Do you think Askren should retire? If not, who shall he fight? That's how to get good. Again, how to get good. 2 questions in a row. I so happen to have fallen on your question twice. Should he retire? I think that's a very personal question. I think if he doesn't retire, he's going to have more losses on his record. So that's up to him. I don't know how much he's getting paid. Is it worth for him to keep fighting and lose some fights but make that money? I don't think he beats a Coby Covington. I don't think he beats a Kamaru Usman. I don't think he beats many fighters. I have to say, look, I'm no disrespect. I'm a huge Askren fan. I'm still a huge Askren fan. Just because he lost his fight, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus here. I'm just trying to be honest in my assessment. I think the guy's a phenomenal fighter, but not a top 5. Okay, I don't think he gets there. There's more than just a good handful of guys who can beat him. He could still get wins in UFC, absolutely. I would like to see him run it back with Robbie Lawler. I think that's something that's very interesting to all the fans. I think that he fights Robbie Lawler right now. It'll be a lot of hype. It'll be a very interesting fight, and if he wins or loses, there could be a trilogy. Okay, if he loses, there could be a trilogy. Who knows? He'll make money. It'll give him time to develop his skills. However, I don't see him fighting a Coby or Usman, even if he beats a Robbie Lawler. I think he needs a string of wins. So he's got to sit back and think, what does he have to do to get that string of wins to potentially win a world title? But right now, it seems like a far off goal. All right, what else we got here? Coach, were you surprised in the third when Askren let Maia get full mount so easily before the sub? That's from MMA 1. MMA 1, I was not surprised because he looked so tired. The way he got swept, you could tell that he was so highly fatigued that listen, Maia is one of the best passers in the game. Maia is one of the best passers in the game. It didn't surprise me at all. Like I said earlier in this video, I really think that Maia's top game is far superior than Ben's bottom game, right? So if I'm on top of you, it's my top game versus your bottom game. It didn't surprise me at all. What did surprise me is in the second round, when Maia was on top, he fell off the back and ended up on the bottom. I thought that was more unlikely. Once he gets Ben down on the ground, Ben may get up to his feet, but Ben should not reverse Maia. If he reverses Maia, it's kind of like Maia blundered, because he has so much more experience on top than Askren has working off his back. Wrestlers don't typically work off his back. Now, when that reversal occurred, Askren was not in guard. Askren was mounted, and it was kind of like a sweatiness thing, scrambling thing. Okay, but in the third round, he was flat in his back in his butterfly guard. So Maia was passing the guard. So that's why it was more stable. It was less of a scrambling position. I picked Maia to pass Askren's guard 9 times out of 10 with very little difficulty. And mounting and taking the back every single time. Not necessarily just to side control. I can see him getting to side control, absolutely. That's easier, but harder is to get to mount and back. But I think Maia does it on a consistent basis like he did in round 3. Okay. For us, do you think discipline is the key for happiness? Guys, I got to answer questions now on the fight. Let's stay on the fight, and maybe we'll open it up to anything later on. Okay, we are talking about Damien Maia versus Ben Askren. How did you guys see it? Is Ben's speed overall athleticism due to genetics or something else? Is Ben's speed? That's from Mukhtar. Mukhtar, look, he's been training for so many years, so intensely in wrestling, that he hasn't been training in boxing super intensely from his youth. Okay, so he's not gonna have that boxing speed of a Mayweather. You could see Damien Maia. Look, Damien Maia has been doing boxing for so long now. He's still below par. Okay, with all due respect, he's a superb grappler. He's a great wrestler, but his striking is still subpar in the welterweight division. Why? He went so far into one direction of training. He specialized. So look, he's going to be a little bit slower. Askren is slower. The striking was kind of tight between the two. It was competitive, but that wasn't the best strikers in the welterweight division by far. Okay, so no, they're not going to be able to develop that strength. It's not a question that speed. Excuse me. It's not a question of genetics. It's a question of um, how early and how intense they trained in striking. Okay, they have a lot to make up, and they're past their genetic excuse me their prime, their physical prime. But coach, Maya went for Ashigarami. That was beautiful. That's from Duha. Yes, the Duha. I do agree that Ashigarami was sweet. It was beautiful. It was an excellent maneuver. You don't see it often in MMA. It worked beautifully. Finally, I catch you live, boy. That's from White Mustang. Mustang, welcome. Welcome. Hey, coach. Had so much time to develop striking, at least on one level, on the level of Maya. He had so much striking. Venom Musk is saying, look, Ben Askren had so much time to develop his striking. Guys, listen, I've trained so many people in striking. Some of them who come from sports where they went so deep in a sport, their brain, we don't know why. No, I mean, I don't think anybody knows why, but they went so deep in a sport. That's what I was telling you guys once upon a time when everybody was saying Ronda's got to get a new striking coach. You can make Ronda box with Freddie Roach every day. She's not going to be a great boxer per se. She just doesn't have it. Sometimes you take a judoka or a wrestler and you make them box and they got it, man. They got it. They move well. They understand boxing. And sometimes you take a athlete from another sport, you try to teach him boxing, and it's clunky, it's mechanical, it's slow, they just don't get it. Even though they're training an immense amount of hours, they just don't get it. And you could bring it the greatest boxing coach in the game, and he still can't fix him. There is genetics there, but I believe that for some people, if they didn't start doing something at a young age, they're never going to get it. So if you didn't do athleticism until you were 20, you're just never going to be athletic. Or you can develop your athleticism, but you're never going to reach that world class level. Okay? And one good argument that I give for this position, for those of you who don't agree, is look at gymnasts. Is there anybody who takes up gymnastics at the age of 20 and makes it to the Olympics? No. No. Because gymnastics, the sport is who's more athletic. However, if I was training in different sports, let's say I played soccer until I was 20, then I take up boxing at the age of 20, I could become a really great boxer. Why? Because my athleticism has been developed at a young age. You have to develop your athleticism at a young age. Now, Askren has developed his athleticism at a young age, but the characteristics you need for striking, he did not develop. Okay? So in striking, you got to be really, really explosive. So let's take the soccer player example. In soccer, you have to explode. You have to run after the ball. You have to kick. You have to be very dynamic. You have to do a lot of ballistic movements. Over and over again, you're developing the legs that are very similar to what a boxer would need. Then I convert you to boxing. You're gonna have those movements. You're gonna have those. You're gonna have cultivated those abilities, those particular athletic abilities. So, for instance, even when you're running after the ball in soccer, you're swinging your arms explosively. When then I convert you to boxing, you know what? Your hands are used to moving in an explosive fashion. However, in wrestling, you don't have those particular movements cultivated. So if you haven't cultivated them at a young age, don't be surprised if you're mechanical when you convert to a sport that's very different to what you grew up in. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised. There is evidence to the contrary, but that would say that's the exception. It's not the common rule. Okay. Okay. I don't know why this thing's not working. Okay. Ben picked the fight. Was Maya a good matchup for him considering his striking? That's from Sam Taskin. Listen, Sam, I know he probably picked a fight, but it makes sense. It makes sense that he picked that fight because who else is there to fight? Most people are busy. Like most people in the top 15 have already been scheduled. And you know what? There was a good chance he beats Maia. He had to take a risk. Who's he gonna fight? Who else was there in the? I mean, the only better fight I would say was to fight Pettis, but that's his teammate. And I know they had a maybe a falling out or whatnot. I don't know, but there wasn't really anybody else in my opinion. I'd have to look at the top 15 again. I'm saying this off the top of my head, but from what I remember, I think that Maia was a really good fight that would get the fans excited, and it would help move him up the ladder. Not very high up the ladder, but still help him nonetheless. Okay, wait, I think a super chat. Welcome, JS. That's from, oh, we have a new member, JS. Thank you, JS. Welcome, my friend, JS. All right, what else we got here? Coach, for us, from this fight, what do you take away and can you use it for your own fighters? That's from Locker Room 10. Yeah, of course, there's always a lot of great things to take away from every fight. I think this fight came down to conditioning, and I was very surprised that Ben Askren's conditioning didn't hold up. It didn't seem that it held up. Where I was, listen, I was favoring Maia in this fight, but I was saying that I think Maia can lose because of conditioning. One thing I've always um, felt that Maia didn't have. You know, he's such a great fighter, of course, but one thing he didn't have, he always seems to fade. His conditioning was never a 10 on 10. It was never a 9 on 10. Okay. If you look at his fight with Coby Covington, Damien Maia and Coby Covington had a very competitive first round. Go back and watch that fight. Round one was very competitive. I've watched it where I give it to Maia, and I've watched it where I give it to Coby. However, Maia starts to break and fade. And by round three, there's just nothing left in the Maia gas tank, and Coby Covington looks incredibly fresh. Now, Coby Covington's conditioning is probably among the best in the history of UFC. So we're not giving Maia an easy time here, okay? But I'm just trying to say is that Maia was just as skilled as Coby in terms of striking, because it did come down to striking. Round one did come down to striking. There was no groundwork. From what I remember, if there was, it was very, very little. And I'm pretty confident. I haven't watched the fight in a while, but I'm like 95% sure it didn't touch the mat at all. And it was very competitive. And actually, if you see that fight, Maia stunned Coby a little bit with the left hand. He did hurt Coby with the left hand. What was the difference between the two? Maia couldn't keep up the pace, and he started to break. Okay, so that's my opinion. I always had on that knock on Maia is that his conditioning wasn't up to par. And in the 5 round fight, I thought Askren could out condition him, out hustle him, and eventually outwork him. It wasn't the case. Maia seemed to get a second wind, and the striking was really tight. The grappling exchanges were really tight, except for when Maia got on top. That was gonna be, Maia's light years ahead of Askren's bottom game. Coach, it feels good for Maia to win. Jiu-Jitsu, that's the Undertaker. Yeah, well, you know what? I love wrestling. I love Jiu-Jitsu. It was a beautiful win for Jiu-Jitsu. No doubt about it. Askren is a poster boy for wrestling. He's one of the many poster boys for wrestling. And, definitely Maia is a poster boy for Jiu-Jitsu. But don't forget, Maia does a lot of wrestling. Wrestling helped him win that fight. And Askren's Jiu-Jitsu also helped him get on top in the second round and win that second round. Okay, so here I like to open it up to very maybe no staying on this fight. I'm not going to change topic here. We're going to stay on this fight, but how do you guys think this fight would be? I've talked about this in the past, and I think this fight is a great example. If there was no time limit, Ben Askren versus Damien Maia, you lock the cage. And we know, okay, Maia subs him. Okay, no problem. We all agree. We saw it live. He did it in less than 15 minutes. But do you think the fight would have been different if both men, they would have, these two men fought differently and made different decisions in the fight? If it was, we're closing the cage and you guys are fighting, whether it's 20 seconds or 5 hours, we're not opening the cage till one of you wins. There are no decisions, no time limits. You guys fight till somebody gets stopped. How do you think this fight would have played out? In my opinion, Maia would come out with a sub. Maybe it would have took even longer than it happened in this fight. Why? Because they're fighting so hard because they know the time is running out. And they're not relaxing. They're fighting so hard because they know they need to fit in an exchange that's beneficial to them before the time runs out. So let's take, for instance, round two. Maia got taken down and he went to triangle omoplata immediately. Like He threw it up there immediately. If there was no time limit, I bet you he would have relaxed. He would have found the right grips. He would have taken his time, and maybe he sweeps Ben Askren in a more controlled fashion. But the way he swept Ben Askren was very frantic. Why? Because there's a time limit. If Ben Askren stays on here for another minute or two, he's gonna bank in this round for sure. It's so the time is always on your mind. I can't lose this round. Okay, so he threw the triangle up. He threw the omoplata up. He reversed Askren in such a frantic way that he lost control of him. Where if I guarantee you, if there was no time limit, he would have took his time. He would have got to the triangle. He would have got to the omoplata, and he would have done it in a way that's more controlled. He would have got to the position on top, and he would have flattened that top position, and he would have took his sweet time on top, breaking down his opponent. Now the same goes for Askren. Would Askren have shot so many times? He took a lot of bad shots, like I would say several, poor attempts. Why was he rushing it? Because he's got to get the takedown now, and he's got to get him on the ground now. He's got to start breaking him down now. I think it would be so interesting. I know it's not feasible, guys. Don't tell me it's not feasible. I know it's not feasible. We're never gonna have a no time limit fight. It's highly unlikely. Let's call it highly unlikely. But I'm saying, do you guys think it would have made a major difference? So the conclusion is pure BJJ will win against pure wrestling. That's from Jonathan. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that it'll win more often. Jiu-Jitsu is time sensitive. It takes more time. Wrestling, if I get you down on the mat, let's say it takes me 2 minutes to get you down on the mat. The jiu-jitsu guy only has 3 minutes to work. And the wrestler could always get up. So let's say the wrestler gets in a little bit of trouble. He'll get up. The time will stop. And then he banked in the round. But in a no time limit, you can't just get up because you spend energy getting the guy down. You're going into a cycle over and over again. You can't just take the guy down, let him up, take the guy down, let him up. You'll burn yourself out. You'd have to stay on the ground. So if there's no time limit, getting up actually is bad for you. So the wrestlers are going to try to keep the grappler on the ground. If you're trying to keep the grappler on the ground, you're going to get caught with counters. You're going to get caught with counters. Now, we saw Damien Maia go for like a Kimura. I guarantee you he wouldn't have went for that Kimura. That was not a great choice. He went for that Kimura because it was time sensitive. He had to rush. He had to grab whatever was there instead of establishing position. So I don't blame him for doing it. I think he made the right choice under that circumstance. But jiu-jitsu was developed in Vale Tudo rules. Vale Tudo rules is no time limit. Wrestling was developed under time limit. That's why the techniques are designed to work in a short period of time. Coach Faraz, do you think Nogi Jiu-Jitsu is the key to beating athletic MMA wrestlers? That's from HYM Classic. I think no gi is the way to go. Listen, I think no gi right now is so different than gi that in the future you're gonna have schools that are specialized in gi and no gi. There's not gonna be any world champions now that are champions in gi at the highest level and champions in no gi at the highest level. That's gonna be very rare. I won't say that. I'm not saying there's never gonna be another Andre Galval, but I'm saying they're gonna be very few and far between. Why? Because the no-gi grapplers are specializing so much in no-gi techniques. It's going to be very hard to catch up to them if you're working worm guard and you're working De La Hiva with the gi. It's just going to be really hard. There's too much to go after. There's too much to learn now. 5-10 years ago, we were improvising the techniques from gi to no-gi. We were improvising, but now the no-gi is becoming its own science. It's growing legs. Okay. Is it developing? Yes. Jiu-Jitsu is developing at an incredibly fast rate. And Jiu-Jitsu is developing more and more sophisticated anti-wrestling techniques. It's coming. It's coming. Jiu-Jitsu is Nogi Jiu-Jitsu is coming in a big way. It's going to take over, in my opinion. It's adapting to the time limit, to the 5-minute time barrier. However, it's going to take some time. Maybe in the next 5-10 years, we're going to see a new wave of Jiu-Jitsu with new techniques. And we've been seeing new waves, new innovations in jiu-jitsu consistently for the last 20 years. It's consistent. Every 2-3 years, there's new powerful techniques, new variations that we didn't think of. There's just so much. There's just so much on the table right now for jiu-jitsu. All right, guys. Haley Gill asks a question with a super chat, but we're still on Askren versus Maia, so I cannot answer your question because it's not relevant to the question. Maia looked juicy. That's from DH. Actually, no, I don't think he looked juicy, to be honest with you. I think he looked natural. And of course, Ben Askren as well, I would say, is very natural. Muhammad, salam coach. What are your thoughts on Maya's sweeps? How do you develop that kind of skill in sweeping? Muhammad, I would say that's years and years of jiu-jitsu. He, of course, comes from a gi background, but I think he spent so many years now doing no gi that if you want to learn what to do in no gi, Maya is a great guy to watch. Coach, how did Khabib improve striking when Ben can't? That's from Dubai Insider. Dubai, that's a great question. You know, you're right. Khabib and Askren have been wrestling since they're kids. How come Khabib can box? He can box. He's improved his boxing a lot more. I would agree with you. He's improved his boxing, but even then, when you see Khabib punch, it seems like there's a mechanical clunkiness to his striking. He's a good striker. He's an effective striker. He's a very effective striker, but there's still like his strikes don't glide like a professional boxer, okay, or like a professional standard professional MMA guy. Why why is Khabib more explosive? I think that he did more explosive training in his youth because you could train like a tow truck and be effective in wrestling, and you could train like a Ferrari, explosive maneuvers, and be effective in wrestling. Okay, there are different styles of wrestling. Some that rely more on explosivity, some that rely more on chain wrestlers. So I like to use the analogy of tow truck versus Ferrari. This is an analogy put forth by I'm forgetting his name right now, but he's a famous lifting coach, West Side Barbell. I'm forgetting the name. Please forgive me. Louis Simon. And look, if you do a lot of chain wrestling, you're kind of grabbing from one vine to the next, and that's your style. You're going to be more of a Ben Askren type athlete. But I think Khabib mixed both. He used explosive type wrestling, and he also is a great chain wrestler. He has both. He's mastered both, and I think he developed a lot of explosive athletic ability young because he wanted to improve his explosive style of wrestling. You know, those power doubles, those high crotches turning the corner. Like there are explosive movements in wrestling. I don't think Ben Askren took that path, and I think it affected his striking. So there are different ways to train in wrestling. Absolutely. Coach, did Maya submit him with one arm? That's from Malik. I do believe he did with a slight of assistance. So it was mostly a one arm choke with a little bit of assistance from his other hand. You can choke somebody with a rear naked choke with one arm. This one was not a full one armor, but it was very close to a one armor. Would you say Askren is done after this fight? That's from Marost. Marost, no, I wouldn't say he's done. I think Robbie Lawler fight is a good option for him. Now I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's 0-3." If he goes and beats Lawler, people are gonna have to say he's 2-2 because they're gonna have to give him the first one. If he loses to Lawler, they're gonna say he's 0-4. Either way, we'll have peace. We'll have closure. Okay, so I think the Askren Lawler fight is a good one. Please, 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 gift wrap video. That's from Urum. Urum, I will try to do the gift wrap video, but I plan on shooting butterfly guard video first. But you know what? Maybe I shoot both videos. How about that? Okay. Sem Taskin, where does Maya rank in the best MMA grapplers of all time? That's a great question. Are you talking like pure grappler, like the guy's whole formula is take you to the ground? I would say maybe second only to Khabib. We'd have to give Khabib first. In terms of guys whose game plan is to only beat you on the ground. Okay, because Khabib, like we always know, like he just wants to take you on the ground. He's not like George where he can either strike you or take you to the ground and beat you up. He's gonna strike you until he can get you down. He does most of his success comes from the ground. So I would say it's Khabib first, second Maya. Yeah, second Maya would make sense. Maras, could GSP out wrestle Askren? If you're asking me about in MMA, I would say absolutely. Okay, like after seeing today's fight, I would say there's no doubt that GSP would be victorious against Askren. Okay, I would say 99% chance he would win. Coach Frost, I have no good MMA gym near me. My man, sorry, we are only answering Maya versus Askren questions. Marketer KSA, Maya versus Crone Gracie? Question mark. Maya's a lot bigger, so I'd have to give it to Maya. If you're asking me pound for pound, oof, that's a good question. You know, that's a really good question. I would have to go Maya just because he has so much more experience in MMA. Coach Faraz, do you think no-gi jits will replace wrestling as the backbone of MMA 5 years from now? That's from HYM. Strong possibility, yes. But I really do believe it's going to be a hybrid between the two. You could see that the jiu-jitsu guys are picking up wrestling more and more. Good evidence of that is Askren and Maia were, he did take Maia down in each round. However, it took a major effort. Does this further prove that jiu-jitsu rules over wrestling? That's from Benson. No, I wouldn't say that. One fight cannot, in my opinion. I think it's a blend of the two. I really believe that jiu-jitsu and wrestling, we have to see them more as complementary. Under a time limit, wrestling still has an advantage. I think that's going to change in the future. However, in a no time limit rule, I would tell you that jiu-jitsu will have a major advantage. Guys, let's keep the questions on. Askren versus Maia post-fight analysis. Coach, what do you plan to make? What plan would you make to get Askren to the top? Salam alaikum. That's from Jorman. Jorman. Listen, he's got to come up with a new formula. I would go back to the drawing board, and I would want honestly, I would start with conditioning. I felt his conditioning is not where it should be. I would try to cultivate new levels of athletic ability. I think his athletic ability is troublesome. Black Wings Prophet says, Coach, if Ben's training dirty boxing earlier, do you think it would fit his grappling style similar to DC dirty boxing? Hope you have a great day. Thank you, my friend. That's very nice of you. Dirty boxing will definitely help because, like I was saying, he's more of a tow truck than a Ferrari. So dirty boxing would be a good help. I think he did some nice dirty boxing in that Maya fight. He did not huge amounts, but there was a potential there. I do definitely think that's a good look for him. Pro Track. Ben is finished in the UFC. Well, Pro Track, listen, his back's against the wall. I won't lie, okay? He's definitely against the wall, but he's not finished. You're never finished. You got to learn to be a little bit more positive. Look, he didn't get to where he is today by being the type of person that gives up. Like, if he were to retire, I wouldn't hold it against him. It's a tough business. He's proven that he has an iron will, a tough mind, a big heart. He's proven it. We all expire. Look, we all run out of that mojo. We all run out of that. We all run out of options at the end of the day. Okay, I don't care who you are: Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, BJ Penn, uh, Adesanya. Everybody's gonna run out of will, out of grit. It's all human will is finite. It's up to him. It's really up to him. He has nothing to prove. He's one of the great fighters in MMA history. He's one of the great fighters in MMA history. The question is, does he want to sacrifice the time and energy to keep going? Like, for instance, I'll be honest with you. I have a wife and kids. There was a time where I was a little bit less in the gym, a little less. And of course, I have a wife and kids. My kids are only going to be young for a certain period of time. I have to be there. But when they grow up, I'm going to be 99% of the time in the gym. Why? Because that's what I got. My kids have their own life. But he has kids. Fighters have a life. Like for instance, George St. Pierre's retirement had a lot to do with his need to have a social life, a life, outside of fighting. Because there was a time where training was everything all the time. So you wake up in the morning. What do we have to do for practice today? After practice, what do we have to do to get ready for the next practice? After the evening practice, what do we have to do now to get ready for tomorrow morning's practice? It was just training, 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 training. Win a fight, get ready for the next training camp. It was just so consuming that it can make you not crazy, but it can make you at one point sit back and realize, hey, am I on a treadmill here forever? So I believe that he has the will. I believe he has the heart because he wouldn't have gotten this far. He has skills. He has incredible skills. But does he have the desire to go back and rebuild? Rebuild, like start again. That's up to him. I don't think anybody can answer that question. However, can he do it if he wants to? I believe yes. But it's a major price to pay. He has to rehaul his game. He has to go back to striking and setting up takedowns in a different way and grappling. He needs to up his grappling, like his submission skills. There's a lot to work. He has to rework his conditioning. I mean, he needs to put in a lot of time and energy to fix this. If he wants to get to the top five, we're talking about an incredible amount of dedication. Is it possible? Yes, but it's going to consume 80% of his life, like his time. Like, 80% of his time has to go to this. For us, Ben Askren overrated, or is he suffering the effects of concussion? That's from Stephen Thacker. Stephen, that's a very real possibility. He did suffer a very bad KO. We all saw the Masvidal KO. Was his conditioning due to that? Look, I don't think anybody can answer that question. I don't think we have that kind of data. It's possible. I definitely wouldn't take it off the table and say no, it happened a long time ago. I don't agree with that kind of. We don't know. We don't know enough about concussions. I don't think anybody does. I think concussion science is still growing. It's still developing. Did he look like himself? Is it? I'm not. I would say no, but is it because he was fighting a high caliber fighter and he's never done that in the past at this level? Is that why, or was it because he's concussed? That's a good question. I don't think we would know. It's a tough one. I gotta admit. I would say Maia is a wrestler slash grappler like he's never met. That's we know for certain. Yes, he beat Lima, but he beat Lima years ago. Could he beat Lima today? I would say he doesn't beat Lima today, to be honest with you. I would say that Lima beats him in a 5 rounder. Today, Lima beats him. Back then, Lima was more naive, more not naive, I should say, naive about like we didn't know so much about Askren. Nobody knew Askren's level till he beat Lima. Okay, um, Askren didn't look. He looked good before Lima, but he was like we weren't sure how good. No, the MMA community, I would say, as a whole, was not sure. If Lima knew how dangerous Askren was, maybe he would have prepped differently because Lima, in my opinion, has surpassed Askren. Now, if they were to fight today, it would be Lima. I'll be very confident Lima wins. Back then, Lima was more green, but I think he was caught by surprise by how good Askren was. I think Askren was underestimated. However, now that Askren is in the UFC, we're gonna see for sure. We're gonna see for sure. And he's lost now 2 times to guys with losses. So Maia has a number of losses. Masvidal has a number of losses, and he's losing to those guys. So we cannot hold Askren to the level of a top 5 UFC fighter today. We cannot. I mean, there's nobody who can make that argument, in my opinion. So for certain, we know he hasn't fought anybody of that caliber ever in his career, with the exception of Lima. But was Lima at that level back then? Because they fought a long time ago. In my opinion, I'm not sure. If he fought Lima today, he would lose, in my opinion. Will he beat a guy in the top 5? It doesn't look like it. All right, guys. We're still doing the Maia and Askren, all of us together. You guys can leave comments or questions. Okay, it doesn't have to be only a question. You guys can leave me your comments. Coach, would Maia have pulled off a heel hook? That's from Sinisa. Yes, it's very possible. Askren was toe-holded by Popovich. If I remember correctly, it was Popovich in Abu Dhabi. Wrestlers are sometimes susceptible to leg locks, okay? More susceptible than jiu-jitsu guys because, one, they're not as familiar with them. And two, in my opinion, their feet are less flexible usually. I'm just saying that through experience. Maybe it's because they wear wrestling boots. Maybe it's because their foot is not attacked for so many years. Like in jiu-jitsu, your foot gets attacked a lot. So you can't get your foot bent, on a regular basis. And the foot is more pinched often than in wrestling, okay? Please get back to Joe Rogan. That's from Kotiba. I have gotten back to him, okay? So I'm just waiting for a time slot, guys. So I am ready to go back on the Joe Rogan show. Did Maia use his right hand to support the elbow on the choking arm and accentuate the squeeze? Merci, Monsieur Zahabi. Khabib versus Maia. That's from ID Mansour. Yes, he did assist with his arm. He had a left hand choke and he assisted with the right arm, but it wasn't a major assistance. We talked about that earlier. Pound for pound, Khabib versus Maia. I would say Khabib because he's in better shape. I would say the Khabib because he's in better shape. No time, most technical on the ground wins. That's from Carpenter Donald. Well, Carpenter Donald, I would say, look, if you don't have submissions, how are you going to sub a jiu-jitsu guy? Like eventually, let's say you're mauling the jiu-jitsu guy, you still can't finish him. So you have to ground and pound him. Okay, you have to hit him with elbows and knees. So you have one way to finish is with strikes. A jiu-jitsu guy has two ways to finish you. Okay, but on the other side, on the other end, jiu-jitsu guy will likely be on the bottom. Now I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a little secret that you guys might not know. It is very hard to hit a jiu-jitsu guy on the top from the top if there's no time limit because the jiu-jitsu guy is going to be hyper defensive. So they do a much better job protecting themselves. However, when there's a time limit and the jiu-jitsu guy is firing away submissions and sweeps to try to make something happen, he's a lot easier to hit. Okay, so for instance, Maia in round one reverses Ben Askren, and Ben Askren gets on top. Yes, it was round one. I'm trying to think, was it round two? Because there was also a reversal in round two. No, in round one, and Askren hits him from the guard. Maia establishes an Ashigarami type guard. Some of you might know it as single leg X. And Askren hits him. I guarantee you, if there was no time limit, Maia wouldn't have went to that. He would have used a more secure guard. Why did he go for it? He went for it because time was running out and he had to score something. Ashigarami, in my opinion, is not a good position. It's a good transition, like he did in the third round. In the third round, he used it again. However, he used it when Askren was off balance. In round one, he used it. He tried to force it on Askren when Askren was well balanced. A good jiu-jitsu practitioner like Damien Maia knows better. He knows better that it's a transition. It's not really a position. In MMA, in jiu-jitsu, it's okay to do it as a position because there's no punches. However, if you grab the single leg X or Ashigarami in an MMA match and the guy on top of you has good base, you're gonna get punched. So Maia used it wisely in in the third round. He was forcing it in the first, but it was a good option. Why? Because he had to score something to make sure. He had to stay aggressive. He had to stay aggressive because it was too close of a round. It was hard to call. Coach, did you find it surprising that it was so difficult for Ben Askren to take Maia down? That's from Nick. Nick, no, I didn't find it surprising. Maia's not a naive wrestler. He's a good wrestler. How much of his defensive wrestling have we seen? Not much, but I'll tell you something. Generally speaking, the defense is a little bit easier. Okay, it's a little bit easier. Not much easier at times, but I find it to be easier. All right, what else we got here? Okay, guys, I think we've exhausted the Askren Maia. We did 47 minutes, almost 48 minutes here. I think it was a phenomenal fight. I really, really enjoyed the fight. I thought both men did a great job. Now, with that said, we can open it up to any questions you guys want. I'm going to keep this one a little bit more concise since I don't have the best internet here. I hope you guys are getting a good feed. I have to put a user in timeout. Sorry, guys. My apologies. He's polluting the message board here. All right. So, guys, open it up. Any questions at all? Anything at all on this weekend? Coach, do you think the outcome would have been different if Ben kept the fight on the feet? And does this fight indicate regarding Khabib versus Ferguson or Khabib versus Ortega possible? Is that Bilal? Bilal, listen, I'll tell you, if Askren kept it on the feet, could he have pulled it off? I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. It was close. The striking was close. It's a good question, Bilal. I really like that question. I don't know. It would have been really close. It would have been really, really close. If he would have lost because he stayed standing, then everybody would have been kicking him. Why didn't you try to take the fight to the ground? Again, hindsight is 2020, of course, as always. Because he did land some nice uppercuts in round two. However, in round three, I was giving the striking to Damien, to be honest with you, even though I still felt it was competitive. Could it have swung the other way in rounds 4 and 5? Who knows? All right. What type of athletics did GSP do as a kid? That's from Mukhtar. He did a lot of karate and track and field. Okay, he was very big into track and field. That's why you could see he has that explosiveness. And track and field is great for explosiveness and endurance. That's why George has cultivated so much athletic ability that's both explosive and has great endurance. Uh, Coach, who seemed more tired by the third round? That's from Omri. Um, I thought it was pretty even, and then all of a sudden I felt like Askren kind of dropped off significantly. He scored one takedown, and that takedown, he had to chain it. He went from a headlock to a high crotch. He ran the pipe, hooking the head. He did a beautiful, nice little sequence. He did a nice chain wrestling sequence like he always does. He's a great chain wrestler. But after he hit the ground, he looked zapped. He fell into Maia's butterfly guard. He was riding high. He was up high. His hips are really high. And he just seems to fall over and had nothing left in the gas tank. I think that sequence zapped him badly. Okay, guys, we have over 1,000 people, nearly 1,500 people in the chat room. Ask away your questions, guys. We are nearing the 1 hour mark. We are live here. Hey, coach, who do you think wins a submission grappling match between GSP and Maia? That's from Nishal. It depends on the rule set. I mean, we're talking about like 20 minutes sub only. I don't think anybody gets a sub. I think George is an extremely good jiu-jitsu guy. If we're talking about points and passing, I think George can score a point on him. But I also wouldn't be shocked if Maya scores. It would be really tight, really really tight. Thoughts on Arthur Beterviev's unification fight? That's from Mua. Actually, we have the same management team, and I was just talking to them about it. I haven't watched the fight yet. I've been on the road. I heard he did amazing. I heard, I don't expect him to do anything but amazing work in there. Congratulations to Arthur. I haven't seen the fight yet, guys. I've been on the road, and I should be back home tomorrow, and I look forward to watching that fight and many others that I have to catch up on. Askren 155 against Tony and Khabib. That's from Alcott. Alcott, I don't think Askren can make 155. And with all due respect, I think if Khabib or Tony were to fight him at 170, I think they both win. So I think Tony is too much. His striking, his ability to scramble off the ground. I don't think Askren can sub Tony. I don't think he can keep Tony on the ground. I think Tony wins, even if the fight is at 170, with all honesty. Okay, and I'm a big Askren fan, guys. I'm a very big Askren fan. Khabib versus Askren, again, I would give it to Khabib. Khabib is in much better shape. Khabib will be too hard to take down. Even if he does take Khabib down, Khabib will get back up to his feet or get a reversal, and Khabib can take Askren down. And if he gets on top of Askren, we saw Askren's bottom game. I think Khabib just takes over. So in my opinion, both lightweights can beat Askren at welterweight, and I say that with all due respect. I just think that they're that high up above. Okay. Coach, can I hire you as my life coach? That's from Sean. Sean, I gotta coach you via my internet channel here, my YouTube channel, bud. All right, what else we got here? Coach, super chat. Oh yeah, right. I must have missed a super chat. Excuse me. Let me scroll up here. All right, guys. I'm sorry, but I don't see the super chat. I know that I have to scroll. Oh, here it is. Here it is. No, it was the Beterbiev one. All right, guys. My apologies. I missed the super chat. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. Sorry, guys. My apologies. Didn't do that on purpose. Let me get back to Usman versus Coby. Who wins? That's from Hassan. Oof, guys, you're putting me. This is an impossible fight to predict. That's happening in December. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Let me go back and watch their fights. Give me some time to come up with a good answer to that. I think that as right now where I'm sitting, I have to go through their footage. I got a lot of questions I think need answering before I can make a call. Usman Kobe boring fight. That's from Jim Jam. Jim Jam, I disagree, and I guarantee you, you're tuning in. Jim Jam, you're saying that now, but I guarantee you on fight night, you're gonna open up that laptop, you're gonna purchase that pay-per-view, and you're gonna be watching Kobe versus uh, Usman on Fight Pass, like we're all gonna be. All right. Hi, coach. Any thoughts about altitude training? Is it beneficial? That's from Jonathan. I think it is beneficial. I know there's a lot of back and forth science, and a lot of it is controversial. However, I've worked at altitude, and I do believe it works. It makes a difference. Shuab, what do you think about Conor McGregor's antics towards Dagestanis? Would you class that as racism? I haven't seen anything that McGregor does. I know I saw in the headlines he went to Moscow. I didn't read up on anything at all. I haven't looked at it at all. So unfortunately, I do not know what you're referring to. Kobe versus GSP, who wins? That's from AJ. I would pick GSP, no doubt about it. Hey, coach, how do you know if you have good endurance, strength, or power genetically? Muhammad, I would say, go out in the field and test your skill and then give yourself an honest assessment. You won't know until you go out. If you want to know if you have good endurance for basketball or football, you have to go out there and get on the field. All right, super chat. Here we go. Now I figured it out. You just gotta click that giant logo. Love your stuff. This is from JS. Love your stuff. Got me hooked on books. Trust self. Dot. I got a friend who's been pretty down lately. Lost in life. Excuse me. Pardon me. Lost in life, late 20s. Not suicidal, more nihilistic, I guess. How can I help him out? Thanks, Pai Mei. That's from JS. JS, you know what? If it's that bad, I would suggest professional help. All due respect, I would suggest professional help if it's that dire. Listen, you got to do a lot of soul searching in life. If you're down, you got to do a lot of soul searching in life. And I think personally, you have to look around and focus your mind on what you're grateful for. We all have plenty of things for what we're grateful. A lot of us, we just look at the things we don't have. I don't have a private jet. I don't have a mansion. I don't have this. I don't have that. Statistically speaking, we have people today, alive today, have more than anybody throughout human history. I don't care if you're living in poverty today, you still have more than the vast majority of people throughout human history. So wake up every morning, find out things, focus your mind on what you're grateful for. Focus your mind on what you're grateful for. Cultivate a self belief that you can get of what you want. If you have a goal, you will achieve that goal. And for me, look, I believe that atheism, an intelligent atheist, will eventually go to, go towards nihilism. It's inevitable. There is no man who has given us a good solution to nihilism. So I don't want to turn into a theological discussion here, but I'm a deist. So for me, I'm not worried about nihilism. However, if you're an atheist and you're intelligent and you're asking the big questions, you're going to end up towards nihilism. Okay, if you haven't read Nietzsche's work, Nietzsche says, "Look, I can predict to you the 200 the next 200 years of Europe's history." He says it's going to be nihilism. Why? It's a bit of a complicated answer, but he says, "Look, they're not going to be religious no more. They're going to be working in factories." I'm giving you guys in a nutshell. One day we'll discuss it in depth if you guys like. He says, "Look, their history is going to be nihilism. I'm telling you from now, the next 200 years." And I think he was right. And I think it's going to be more than 200 years. He was correct. And then you have these people who have abundance. They have so much abundance, yet they're so miserable. So there are big questions to answer, but I don't think we can answer them on this channel today here. Muslims, here we go. Assalamu alaikum, coach. What do you think is better suited for MMA, Greco-Roman wrestling or freestyle wrestling? I would say freestyle. I would say freestyle. Why? Because there's a lot more leg attacks. Okay, a lot more leg attacks, and leg attacks are very important. Can Johnny Walker beat John Jones? That's from Sem. Yes, I would say yes. It's not an easy fight, but I would say it's a strong possibility. I would give that fight, and you guys know I always pick John. I would give that fight a 50-50 chance. Coach, if Askren striked for first 4 minutes and take Maia down in the last minute, do you think he can avoid submission and win the fight easily? AJ, that might be a smart strategy, but the thing is, everybody knows now that the last minute, hey, be on high alert. he's gonna shoot. Why? Because if Maia's winning the first 4 minutes with striking, when it comes down to the last minute, believe me, everybody knows that hey, the only way this guy can turn this around now is with a big takedown. So Maia would catch on. It's not gonna be easy to take him down in the 5th minute after he's losing the striking exchange. Okay, people are getting wise to these kind of strategies. I think if Askren had the striking of Chael, he would have won. That's from Matt Jobone. I think he would have needed the power of Chael. Chael, he was more powerful, more explosive. Okay, super chat. How do you deal with a bully wrestling teammate? He's always trying to hurt me when we're drilling. College team. That's from Michael M. Michael M. Listen, I would try to first talk to him about it. I'd say, look, man, like when we're training, I find like you're scratching, you're being rough. I hope we can keep training, but if not, I can't train with you no more. Just be honest. That's it. Like there's some people I don't like to roll with because every time I roll with them, they poke me in the eye, they scratch me, they hit me in the groin, and they do that because they're nervous when they wrestle with me. Like sometimes, like I'm rolling and people are like, oh, because it's the coach. I'm so nervous, I'm so stressed. Sometimes visitors come and they're like, wow, I'm getting to roll with the coach, and then I roll with the guy and he's scratching my hands, and I always say, please be careful. Oh, you hit me in the groin. Oh, okay, please be careful. But if I roll with that guy several times and he keeps scratching it, I just won't roll with him no more. And when they ask me to roll, I'll be like, listen, honestly, if you're scratching me much, I gotta put you on probation. I'll give you 1 week probation. And then I'll try to roll with them again. But there's some guys they're just so nervous when they roll. And I had a wrestling partner exactly like that when I was wrestling at the wrestling club. Um, I had a guy who would always scratch me. And I was just talking about it. I said, listen, brother, you're really scratching me. And then he'd be like, no, I don't. And I would show him my hands. He's like, that's not me. I'm like, brother, that's you, man. No, that's not me. Okay, it's not you. And then when we'd wrestle, he'd scratch me. And I'd stop the wrestling. I'd say, look, you just scratched me again. And he'd be like, oh, sorry. And he wasn't conscious of it. So first I address it verbally. I talk to the guy about it. I'm open about it. I'll tell the coaches, listen, coaches, I can't wrestle with him. I've been scratched too many times, or I've been poked in the eye too many times. Like recently, one of my athletes poked me in the eye like last year. So badly. So badly. I was blind for 2 hours. I'm telling you, I could not see out of my eye for 2 hours. I had to go to the hospital. By the time the doctor saw me, I was just regaining my vision. Like I've been poked in the eye badly, I would say like 3 times in my career. That was one of the worst, like no, like really badly 3 times. Okay, and it happens in wrestling. That one was probably the worst one of the three. And I just rolled with him very recently. He came up to me on the mat recently and said, "Coach, am I still like on the blacklist?" I said, "Look, I'll roll with you, but you just got to be really careful because he's a bit of a rough roll. Like he's not the best grappler per se, but he's a good grappler. I like to roll with him, but he's just too spazzy." And when he poked me in the eye, it was we're a wrestling exchange, and it was like almost like he threw a hook and poked me in the eye. It was just like ridiculous motion, and I feel like he did that because he was trying to like maybe to prove to me that he's really really effective, that he can like he can impress me maybe, but it was just a freak movement. Like any wrestling coach would see that, he'd be like, that's ridiculous. But the guy's a seasoned wrestler. So I rolled with him again. I rolled with him again, but I hadn't rolled with him in a year. But I told him, listen, you got to be really careful not to do anything that's out of the wrestling or jiu-jitsu book, because turning around with an open hand and hitting a guy in the face with your finger, it's just like absurd. So just be careful, talk, and if it happens again, put the guy on probation. If it happens again, just don't wrestle with him no more. He'll eventually run out of wrestling partners, or he'll change the way he trains. Okay, we got a super chat. Hey, coach, thanks for the podcast. I love it. Do you think training with gi is beneficial for MMA or it's irrelevant also for BJJ? Is it better to train before the comp or reduce the volume before it? Look, I think training with the gi has some benefits. One of them is escapes. It's good for escapes. However, you're going to have to learn 1,000 moves that you'll never use in no gi. That's the downside. The downside outweighs the benefit. So for me, if I was you, I would do 80% no. If your goal is to be good at no gi, do 80% no gi, 20% gi, if you can manage that, or do 100% no gi. That's my opinion. Hey, coach, did you watch the Game Changer? What do you think about it? I haven't watched That's from Jonathan. Jonathan, I have not watched the Game Changer yet. I heard it's pretty good. Yesterday, I went to a buffet and the cook was telling me about it. He's like, "Yeah, to watch the Game Changer." And I guess I have to make time for it. What else we got here? Faraz, did you see the Joker? If so, what are your thoughts? That's from Brian. Brian, no, I did not watch the Joker. You know what? I used to love watching like movies like that and when I was a kid, and now as I'm getting older, I only watch it if my kids are watching it. Like I don't have a drive to watch it. Um, I'm not too into those things anymore, and I just don't really watch them anymore, honestly. But if my kids are ending up watching it, I will watch. Hey, coach, what do you think about GSP versus Tony? That's from Nishal. Nishal, do you mean Tony Ferguson? Pound for pound, that'll be a fun, interesting match. But I think at the end of the day, George's orthodox style wrestling and jiu-jitsu will break through the scrambling and funk style of Tony Ferguson. George has seen that. George knows much about it, and I think we would prepare him very well for that. Hey, coach, can you do a video about smoking barbecue meats? That's from Anton. Anton, my man, you know that the coach is also a pit master. You know what? Maybe one day I do a nice little video on how to cook the perfect steak. Look forward to that in the future. But now it's not the season, guys. It's gonna have to wait till next summer. Coach, can you give us philosophy on how to be a great competitor? That's from MMA One. Listen, that would be a long. There's a lot to know about being a great competitor. I would say is one, be honest in your assessment. Be honest. Am I good at this, or where do I need work? And two, never give up. Like, really be honest. Like, one, am I made for this? Is this a good place for me? Be honest with the self assessment. And after an honest self assessment, be unbreakable in your pursuit for excellence. You're going to have drawbacks. It's inevitable, okay? Drawbacks are inevitable. Coach, can you give us okay, I answered that question. And you know what? Just to give you guys another elaboration, so many people, when they get a setback, they give up. Setbacks is where I would say most people lose heart and give up, right? You don't give up when you win or you have success. It's those setbacks. But if you're young in the game and you had a setback, it should mean nothing to you. It should mean nothing. That's the kind of personality you have to develop. When you're older in the game and you're past your prime, now a couple of setbacks might be time to hang it up. Now maybe we interpret those setbacks as, look, I want to live my life, but I can't have another setback like this if I were to pursue this, because this is what I think Ben Askren is right now. If he wants to keep going and not have another setback, he needs to change his ways. And that's going to take up 80 to 90% of his existing time. Like, he has no time for anything else if he's serious about it. He's not young and single, no family, and he has all his whole future ahead of him. Now it's his prime years for living life. He's set up his name. He's made his career. He's made his money. He's made his brand. Does he want to dedicate? Like, look how late Damien got. I think Damien Maia is like 41. Like, is he doing two more fights? Like, he's gonna do two more training camps. Okay, so let's call that another year of his life. Another whole year of his life. Like, how much of a life, of a personal life, is he having? The man's 41 years old and he's still in there. I applaud him, but I mean, he's gonna maybe look back on his life and say, those years, what did I do with them? Uh, I don't think he can be champion, to be honest. He's not on the cusp of a title fight right now. He's gonna need more than two wins to get a title fight. So what's the point of doing it? Is it the money? Is it what? I find that you have to ask yourself those questions. However, when you're young, you got to make something of yourself. So we're gonna fly or die here. It doesn't matter how many times we fail. We have to keep trying. We have to be successful. You have to get there. You have to be successful in some way, some capacity. But when you're already successful, these guys are successful. They've made it. Their name is made. What's now that we're gonna interpret those setbacks differently? Okay, you're already a great fighter. We know you're a winner. We know you're successful. We know you're one of the best. But at the end of the day, there's a time now where getting past this obstacle is way too much. It's just it's gonna eat up the rest of your life. Okay, what else we got here? All right, lots of similar questions, Coach. Jessen, I don't think I'm gonna answer that question today. We've done it so many times in the past. Okay. What else we got here? Coach, Adesanya versus Till, who wins? That's from AJ. Well, at this point, I would definitely say Adesanya. Uh, all right, guys, we are still at over 1,000 people in the chat room. We are over an hour in. I would say it's about we're 70 minutes in. So, guys, let's end it on a good question, positive note. You guys know I like to end it on a fun question. So, shoot your questions here. Let's see what we got. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. All right, guys. Any question whatsoever? Let's end it on a fun question. It doesn't have to be on the fights. We did that. I think we did that thoroughly. I think we covered Maia and Askren thoroughly. Let's open it up to anything else. Coach, what is your favorite food? Guys, you know that I'm a pit master. Steak. We've talked about this. Steak, my man, steak. But ribeye, smoked properly, cooked low and slow. Okay. Omar asks, gorilla or grizzly bear? Now look, we've talked about gorilla versus tiger, and I told you guys that I would pick tiger. And we've talked about tiger versus lion, and I gave you guys a source that says the Romans used to pin tigers against lions all the time, and the tiger was the favorite. He doesn't always win, but he wins mostly. Gorilla versus bear, grizzly bear, I guarantee you. I've never seen it, I have no evidence, but I guarantee you the grizzly bear wins. He has a bite. Gorillas don't have bite. The gorilla is bigger, heavier, stronger, more mobile. The gorilla and excuse me, the grizzly bear is bigger, stronger, more mobile. He has claws. I just don't see the gorilla doing anything. And I assume, this is an assumption, that the grizzly bear will have more stamina because of his size and strength. He'll exhaust a gorilla. I know gorillas are super strong, but we're talking about a completely different sized animal here. When the bear stands up, he's going to be 10 feet tall. He's going to tower over the gorilla. His vitals are going to be so high up. He's going to be attacking from above. He's going to be pouncing down. He's going to be pouncing from above down onto the gorilla. The gorilla is going to scramble out of the way, but eventually his the weight of the beast, the grizzly bear, will just maul. He'll just end up mauling and breaking down the gorilla. The gorilla may strike and punch, but that's not. He's not going to knock out a grizzly bear. Could you imagine a gorilla punching or smack? He would probably slapping and knocking out a grizzly bear. I just don't see it. I see the grizzly bear eventually getting to the throat and just killing the gorilla. Now, with that said, guys, this is only a product of the imagination, okay? Don't pin any animals against one another. No animal cruelty. That's just a fight talk. We should never know. I hope we never find out whether the gorilla or grizzly bear is a better fighter. But if you ask me, I would say grizzly. Guys, leave down in the comments below what you think would win, grizzly bear or gorilla. Me, I'm with the team grizzly bear. Now, if you ask me grizzly bear versus tiger, I think I would go with grizzly bear again. I would go because he's just so massive. He's gonna be. But tiger, man, tigers can be up like 700 pounds. Like tigers are huge as well. I just think grizzly bear's too big, too big, and he's gonna. If we're talking polar bear, it's even worse. Not many animals can beat a bear. There's just not many animals today that can beat a bear. Okay, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you you subscribed, you enjoyed this. I hope you share it. Thank you for tuning in, and see you all in the next episode. Thank you.